Hello. Shoyan here. I'm a carpenter based in Japan. Today, I'm starting framing. Yesterday, my installation reached the halfway point, and today, other tradesmen will support me and begin framing. We will begin the framing day by purifying the corners with salt and washed rice, and by pouring omiki as a libation. During the process, we make a wish not to get injured and that the house will be built successfully. It's raining today, as expected. I consider myself a rainman, one who brings the rain. It rains or snows roughly 70 to 80% of the time when I do framing. I apologize to other carpenters, and I start framing carefully. After we finish purifying the building, we will also purify ourselves with omiki. Now we start. We don't divide up the roles. Each does what they are used to doing, one after another. I installed the headers and sills with my son yesterday. It saves the first 30 minutes and simplifies the process. Seven carpenters, including myself, and a crane operator are here today, 8 in total. The experienced carpenter will sing the timbers on the outside by himself. The framing process has changed since the old days. There are fewer balloon framing columns now. The building only uses 4, whereas in the past, 9 were used for a building of this size. Back then, I joined the timbers first and erected them for each area. Having fewer balloon framing columns these days, we install them first at the 4 corners, then join the beams called dozashi from above. It was unthinkable in the past, but dozashi are joined and used as a long one these days. On the bright side, it can be installed from either direction. It is easy to install. Pre-cut timbers are used for this building, so I don't need to worry about the timbers not fitting or the lengths not being equal. But since they are wet from yesterday's rain, they are swelling. As a result, I need to hit them with some wooden maul, 20 to 30% more than usual. But since the old days, rain on the framing day is considered good luck. It's hard to work if it's raining heavily, but there is a Japanese saying, rain settles the soil. Just like after a storm comes a calm. That's why it's said to bring luck. The timber that is hung now is Japanese pine, and it will be exposed. If the crane sling is wet, it will leave marks on the timber, so we use the dry sling on the exposed timbers. When there are a lot of young carpenters, framing is easier since their hammering is fast and powerful. There are 2 people hammering, but only one sound can be heard. If their timing is off, the timber won't go in smoothly with a wooden maul. If their timing and sound are in sync, it will go in smoothly without a lot of hammering. The pine timber that is being installed here will be a large stair rail. The catwalk will be built here, which is the main part of this house. After the second floor base frame is installed, we install the temporary floor. In the case of a house built by a home builder, 24mm or 30mm plywood will be used. It is easier to install, that's why we use it. There are 2 ways to install the floorboard: underlay the plywood or install directly on the joists. For this house, we will install the floorboard directly on the joists, so they will be used for the temporary floor. As the temporary floor is installed, the columns, headers, and sills for the second floor will be moved. I install the columns, then the headers and sills for windows as usual. The hardware around the dozashi on the first floor columns is firmly secured. My next step is to confirm that the first floor columns are installed vertically precisely.
Wow, これ全部化粧系。
One side at a time, we adjust the outer columns so that they are exactly vertical. The building may tilt if they aren't adjusted accurately. It's important not to rush and to measure them accurately. I need to measure 7 walls in the building.
これもうほぼほぼ。
I also measure the vertical on the second floor. In the case of the second floor, I first measure the 4 columns on the corner, then I measure the columns inside. I ensure the leveled beams are at right angles to the columns by checking them entirely. Even if I don't check every column using a measuring tool, they will be exactly vertical by setting them at right angles to the beams. I'm now installing the posts and purlins. It would have been better if they were placed on the building's top, but something went wrong. They're on the second floor. It needs extra work. Though the place we are working is getting higher, the temporary floor is on the second floor. I feel safe compared to the old days. Anyway, it's still high. Framing is a risky job. Omiki is poured on 3 of the ridge beams by the owner. In Japanese, there is a saying, "Let the ridge beam drink omiki." We have the owner pour the entire bottle without hesitating. We're hungry now. It's lunchtime. In a 2-tiered lunchbox, the owner serves us impressive dishes. It tastes amazing. At lunchtime, the weather was beautiful with blue skies. But when we returned to work, the weather turned bad again. Maybe my normal behavior might be bad. I reflect on it. Now, we install the rafter. First, we move them into position. The lumber that supports the installation is secured to the rafter. The installation will be installed under the rafter. Instead of nails, we will use special long screws called tarikik to secure. We screw them while adjusting the post. If we don't do so, the pilot hose around the Nokisaki will ship. We would regret that later. This stemmer will be the base of the fascia. The fascia will be secured to the stemmer by screwing it from the back. This hides the screws and nails from the fascia's front.
後で直したらいいよ。これで引っ張るはずやで。はい。
It's now installing the barge board. If it runs diagonally, it's called a barge board. This board is the fascia. Like the barge board, it'll be secured from the back.
あ、それや。
If it runs diagonally, it's called a barge board. If it hides the rafter's end, it's called fascia. The guttering will be attached to this fascia, so even if it were to be screwed from the front, the screws would be hidden by the guttering. It's best to keep them hidden, so the fascia of the entire house will be screwed from the back. Next, the board called Hirokomai will be installed on the fascia. Only the bottom of this board will be exposed. The roof of this building will be steel, not tiles. So we extend the nokisaki first, like this, to install the guttering underneath. This part is called nokisaki sansun in Japanese. Now that the rafter and the nokisaki are completed, the first day of framing is complete. It'll be bad weather tomorrow, so we postpone the roofing one day. Tomorrow, the load-bearing wall will be installed, but the roofing will follow the next day. Today is the second day of framing, but we took a day off yesterday. On that day, the load-bearing wall was installed. Now, we will start the roofing installation work. We install 70mm styrofoam firmly between the rafters as insulation. They are already cut at the factory, a slightly wider width to fit snugly. I firmly step them in. Then we attach the tape, spray the urethane, and drill the holes. There are a lot of processes, and it is quite a hassle. This building's installation work uses a special method. Air will be ventilated over the styrofoam. 25mm furring strips will be installed, and the air will pass between them. First, drill the hole and install the special dampers there. The most difficult part is to caulk the furring strips firmly to make them airtight. Because of this process, we can't do any roofing if it rains. We must wait until the next day. Once, I waited 3 days for better weather. The work is not difficult, but the weather is important. In the countryside, framing day celebrations were big when I started working on my own. The owner hired a chef the day before the framing day to prepare the food and serves us on the framing day. There was even a time when 2 to 3 dishes were served. They entertained us a lot like that. I can't imagine how difficult it was for the owner, since it costs a lot. At the dinner party, large Japanese sake cups were passed around from both left and right until the party ends. A habitual drinker would appreciate it. It would be unthinkable today, but unless we took a sip, we were not allowed to pass the sake cup to the next person. It was such a hard time for me. If the cost of those meals were to be used today, we could easily buy air conditioners and lighting equipment for the entire house. If the roof is made of tiles, you won't hear the rain. But as it is made of steel, it makes quite a bit of noise. To prevent that, I install soundproof boards without gaps. There is a small monitor roof on the main roof. Here, the entire house will be ventilated. It is similar to the ones used in the old days to vent smoke. The lean-to roof is only installed on the building's front. Below will be the entrance and the water supply. The installation will be similar to that of the top roof. On the day that the framing was completed, we used to hold a ceremony called Jotoshiki. First, I would take a bath to cleanse my body. Then I wore a monsuki and hakama to celebrate. It was about a very long time ago. We threw various things like sticky rice cakes and snacks from the higher floor. We also threw daikon for purification and red sea breams. The person who caught the sea bream cut their hands by the fish's fin, and it stuck into their leg. They were having a hard time catching them. Well, I'm the one who threw the sea bream. Everything was fun back then. The framing has taken 2 days, and it's finally completed. We made good progress on the second day due to the beautiful weather. Here in Japan, framing day is very special for the owner. It is a wonderful, once-in-a-lifetime day. Risking their lives, tradesmen came to support the process. Thank you so much for the 2 days. Now, the framing has been completed. Thank you, Carpenters. The roof is complete, and the load-bearing wall is installed. No need to worry about typhoons anymore. Next time, I will install a lot of things, such as metal reinforcement. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.